If you want to get high marks in an exam like Cambridge or IELTS, you get told that you need to have an exceptionally wide variety of grammatical structures in your writing or speaking. You must increase the complexity of your English expression. If that's ever happened to you, or you just need your English to be more advanced, then this video is going to help you, because I'm going to teach you all the different clause types that exist in English, starting with some simple basics of the clauses, and then we'll get on to the more advanced types later on. It's Christmas when this video comes out. Here's a short dialogue you might hear during Christmas. It's Christmas Day. Have you got me a present? Open the box and look inside. Wow, that's so kind of you. These four sentences demonstrate the four main clause types. First of all, we have a declarative clause, which contains a statement or something factual. It's Christmas Day. Then we have interrogatives, which are questions. Have you got me a present? We also have imperatives, which are commands or instructions, where we start with the verb itself, not the subject. And then we have exclamatives, which are like declaratives, except that they have an exclamation mark at the end to show some extra emotion in the statement. Now, what makes them clauses? They're all clauses because they all have one main verb. It's Christmas Day. It is the verb. Have you got me a present? The third one is actually two different clauses. Open the box. Open is a verb. And look inside. Look is another verb, joined together with the word and. And wow, that's so kind of you. That is so kind of you is the verb. In English, we can have main or independent clauses, which are clauses which can stand on their own. They could be sentences of their own. All of the statements or questions you can see on the left can all be independent. They can all be on their own. But we could also have dependent clauses, sometimes called subordinate clauses. These are clauses that only exist correctly or with the right meaning when they are connected to another independent or main clause. So in the first sentence, we could extend our independent clause and add a dependent clause like this. It's Christmas Day, which is the day we remember the birth of Jesus. So the second part, which is the day we remember the birth of Jesus, is the dependent clause. It's the subordinate clause. If you take away it's Christmas Day, it doesn't make sense on its own. It's a clause that can only exist with the main clause. With the interrogative, we could add a dependent clause like this. Have you got me a present even though you didn't have to? So even though you didn't have to is a subordinate clause. Open the box and look inside when you are ready. Wow, that's so kind of you, since I wasn't expecting anything. So all the clauses in red are dependent clauses that you can add on to the main clause. You could also have different types of dependent clauses, such as noun clauses, adjective clauses, and adverbial clauses. The first sentence is a type of adjective clause, where the words in green, which is the day we remember the birth of Jesus, is describing Christmas Day. It's telling us more about it, sometimes called a relative clause, and we'll come back to this later on for more detail. In the interrogative sentence, we have an adverbial clause. Even though you didn't have to, well, this is a concession clause that tells us that something was opposed to the main clause and happens in spite of. In the third sentence, we have a noun clause, when you are ready. So this is a clause beginning with a question word, so when. And this tells us more about look inside. Look inside when you are ready. We could have replaced it with another noun. Look inside the box would have made sense too. But we can also have a noun clause which contains a verb inside it. And then the last one is another adverbial clause. Wow, that's so kind of you, since I wasn't expecting anything. So this is an adverbial of reason. And adverbial clauses have many different types: time, reason, condition, concession, and so on. Anything that can be an adverb can also become an adverbial clause. We also have finite clauses and non-finite clauses. A finite clause is a clause which changes for tense, and most clauses are like this. To some grammarians, all clauses are finite. If they're not finite, then they become a phrase. But grammar books vary on this. So in our first example, it's Christmas Day, which is the day we remember the birth of Jesus. This extra clause is a finite clause because it contains a verb that changes for tense. Which is the day? Well, the verb is comes from to be, and it's the present simple in the third person. So we've changed to be here in order to have the correct tense. But not all of the examples do this. If we take this interrogative, have you decided not to go for a walk seeing the bad weather? Well, seeing the bad weather is non-finite. Here we change the verb see into seeing. But it's always going to be seeing. Regardless of whether we're talking about the past, present or future, seeing doesn't change. It's an ing clause, sometimes called an ing phrase, or a present participle phrase. And this introduces some sort of action or some sort of situation that affects the rest of the sentence. Open the box and look inside to see what I bought you. And here, to see is a to clause. It's sometimes called an infinitive clause because see is in the infinitive form. And after to, see will stay the infinitive, regardless of whether we're talking about the past, present or future. It's non-finite. It doesn't change for tense. And then this one, wow, that's so kind of you. Given that, I wasn't expecting anything. So this is a non-finite clause, but it's a past participle clause. Given that, which really means this was the reason that I thought about what came next. This is the conclusion I reached. That's so kind of you. Why did I think it was so kind of you? Well, my conclusion was that I wasn't expecting anything, and that's why it was so kind of you. But given here will stay as the past participle regardless of what the time is. So given the past participle, we use this here to indicate some sort of results or some sort of conclusion that affects the rest of the sentence. Now let's look at some more complex clause types, starting with reporting clauses. We could have added a short reporting clause to the beginning of our first sentence. She said it's Christmas Day, which is when we remember the birth of Jesus. She said is a short clause. It has a subject, she, and then it has the verb, reporting verb, said. And that goes on its own before the rest of the sentence to show that we are reporting the statement. Said could have been changed for another reporting verb, such as claimed, or proposed, or suggested. Now back to those relative clauses. You'll notice that I have highlighted part of the sentence in green. And that's to indicate that we have a non-defining relative clause. Remember, early in the video, I explained that which is when we remember the birth of Jesus is an adjective clause. Sometimes called a relative clause because it starts with a relative pronoun. In this case, it's which, the relative pronoun. This is non-defining because the clause does not define Christmas Day. We already know what Christmas Day is. This is just telling us more information about Christmas Day. Compare it with this, though, a defining relative clause. She said it's the day when we remember the birth of Jesus. When we remember the birth of Jesus is defining because we don't know which day without the extra information. It could have been a day in the summer. It could have been New Year's Day. It could have been any day in the year at all, but we know it's Christmas Day because of the extra information, when we remember the birth of Jesus. And this extra information is now defining. So in the second example in red, we don't know what the day is until we read the extra defining information. In the first example, we already know what the day is. We know it's Christmas Day. We don't need the extra information to understand that. The extra information just tells us more about what Christmas Day is. Now, we can also have clauses where we have declaratives that actually act as interrogatives. It's Christmas Day? I thought it was tomorrow. It's Christmas Day has the declarative form. We start with the subject, then the verb. But here it's turned into a question simply by the intonation. It's Christmas Day? We go up at the end rather than going down for a normal statement. It's Christmas Day. That's the statement. It's Christmas Day. That's the interrogative, the question. And we can do that informally when we speak in English. We can use the intonation to turn the declarative into a question. We can also have declaratives which are exclamatives using the verb to be at the beginning like an interrogative. Am I pleased to see you? We expect this to be a question because we switch that verb order. We have the verb before the subject. Normally it will be, am I pleased to see you? As a question. I'm not sure if I'm pleased to see you. But here it's a declarative because we change the intonation to make it sound like a declarative. Am I pleased to see you? It's a way of making something that has the interrogative form into a declarative through using the exclamation or using that intonation to show that it's not a question at all. It's actually an exclamation, that we're really pleased about something here. And we also have tag clauses in English. This is where we repeat the auxiliary at the end or at the beginning of a sentence for particular reasons. It's Christmas Day, isn't it? Isn't it the most wonderful day? So both of these are tags. The first one's the most common one, where we repeat the auxiliary, which here is the verb to be. Remember, with the verb to be, we don't need do or have or any other auxiliaries. If it was not the verb to be, then we would need do or have or had instead. But because it's the verb to be, we keep it. And we put it at the end to indicate the kind of response we want from the person we're speaking to. Again, the intonation affects what we mean. If we say, it's Christmas Day, isn't it? Then we're asking the person to show agreement with us because we expect that they will agree. It's a way of improving the relationship between two people by showing that we have common ground. But if I change the intonation so it goes up, it's Christmas Day, isn't it? By turning it into a question through the intonation, we're showing we're not really sure and we actually want the other person to confirm the statement. Now, when it goes at the beginning, the same can happen. Isn't it the most wonderful day? If you go down, then you're saying something that you expect the other person to agree with. But if you go up, isn't it the most wonderful day? Then it's a question where you're looking for confirmation from the listener. And you can learn much more about clauses and everything to do with English through taking my online courses, which you can access through my website, englishwithrupert.com. I've got courses on grammar, vocabulary, writing, speaking skills, business skills, and if you're preparing for an IELTS exam or Cambridge C1, I've got special courses for you. So go to that website if you'd like to extend your learning. They are self-study courses, so you can access them immediately and start straight away. And to all of my followers, whether you're new following me in this video or if you've been following my videos for years, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you in 2026.